So the circus is in town. We're talking about the J.P. Morgan circus in Washington. Jamie Dimon went down to answer questions from the Senate Banking Committee, and there's been a whole lot of noise all over the place, up at Columbia University, in the hearing room, all over the country, really. Agnes, let's start with Jamie. How did he avail himself, from what you could tell in terms of the way he was answering the questions?
I think he did fairly well. I think there were a lot of softball questions, frankly. He explained what happened. There still seems to be a little bit of, hedging, no pun intended, around, the relationship with regulators and when did regulators know and what did they know. That still seems a little bit fuzzy. But, frankly, I think at the end of the day, this is about a trading loss at J.P. Morgan.
That's the theater that we're really talking about here. In the whole idea of a bank CEO having to go up to Capitol Hill over a trading loss that didn't affect taxpayers, really is a shareholder question, as you say, is what's really caught in the middle of this. But I think, again, it's more emblematic of this issue of, we've had a lot of new regulation. Some of it has been written, some of it has not through Dodd-Frank. But I think fundamentally people, whether it's in D.C., whether it's in New York, whether it's in, Iowa, are still not convinced that too big to fail has gone away. There's still, and I think this is why this particular issue resonates, right? People didn't think we had to worry about J.P. Morgan. They had this huge loss. So all of a sudden the focus goes on J.P. Morgan, and then people start asking the other question, well, what if it were bigger? But that is the question, what if it was bigger? But doesn't the whole idea of Congress sort of being on top of an issue like this, and not just overlooking the regulators, which you would expect them to do, but to go right to the bank. Exactly. Doesn't that sort of codify the idea in the minds of the American people that basically, they are too big to fail, that the nation is really is responsible for it.
And I think there's a lot of negative feedback loops as well, right? Because I think, I'm sure these lawmakers are thinking, well, my constituents want to see me ask tough questions to a big banker who is now having problems. And so there's a lot of kind of complex things going on here. But I think you're right. I think it's just kind of in the minds of, Americans. I think when you have hearings like this, it's just kind of well, I guess it is too big. Congress has called a hearing on this, so it must enjoy the support from the government because we wouldn't let it fail.
Right. All right. Well, some political gamesmanship there. Jamie's still talking as we talk, but we basically have a sense of what's happening with the circus. Yeah. Maybe it'll calm down. We'll see. Anyway, we'll be back with more Breaking Views tomorrow.